Since 1997, the Zimbabwe Homeless People's Federation, with its technical partner, Dialogue on Shelter, have been working to provide low-cost housing for the urban poor in Zimbabwe. For a 10-year period, beginning in 1999, the need for low-cost housing in Zimbabwe increased dramatically because of hyperinflation, forced evictions, and government's inability to upgrade infrastructure, let alone provide new houses for the urban poor. In spite of these shortfalls, the Zimbabwe Homeless People's Federation improved its capacity through exchanges with other urban poor organizations around the world. Members were trained to perform duties that are traditionally the preserve of city council staff or engineers. However, most city councils in Zimbabwe refused to deviate from archaic urban planning norms that required expensive infrastructure for low-cost housing developments. The Federation embarked on an intensive awareness campaign that targeted policymakers and councils. The push began to bear fruit when Federation members demonstrated that they could build entire communities from virgin land. For example, in Kariba, Federation members built transitional housing using old discarded blades from the Kariba hydroelectric dam before proceeding to build permanent structures. In Chinhoyi, the Federation introduced sky loos that allowed their members to build and occupy their stands without investing in expensive water reticulation infrastructure.
Your Worship, at this juncture, we call upon the signatories to the Memorandum of Understanding to come forward and append their signatures to the document.
In 2010, the Zimbabwe Homeless People's Federation signed a memorandum of agreement with the Harare City Council to build low-cost housing with funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. After the plans to build housing units in Mbare were scuppered by political disagreements, the project was moved to Dzivarasekwa extension, where a large community of displaced people had waited for years for basic services. Because the conditions were so dire, the project provided transitional housing for the community while they prepared to build permanent structures. Low-cost water and sanitation technologies that had been demonstrated at other sites around the country were adopted to speed up the process.
The first agenda item was feedback on assignment.
The Federation, Dialogue on Shelter and Harare City Council conducted planning meetings with the full involvement of the community. Building began in early 2012.
Yeah, the Harare Slum upgrading project is now in its second year, and the first year mainly the business was involving enumerations, profiles of informal settlements right around the city, and after having completed the profiles were then launched through a book that was launched at the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. So year two now mainly we are now implementing the densification project in DZ, Dzivarasekwa extension, And what is going to happen is that 3 house models are going to be constructed following the principles of densification and affordability, so as to ensure that the project will be able to accommodate as many people as can be possible on a very small space, and also to ensure that the project will be very affordable for low-income communities.
Tine 432 families dzakaallocatwa muno dzeZimbabwe Homeless People's Federation. Kune vamwe vakanga vachingogarawo kuno vari masquatters, saka vakaallocatwa zvakare nekuti chirongwa chedu cheZimbabwe Homeless People's Federation havaivhikti vanhu, vanotora vanhu vachirongwa chevarombo vaya vanotambura.
This project has dovetailed into a wider realignment of relationships between the urban poor in Zimbabwe and the authorities.
It's a milestone. We have a situation here where by the end of September we'll have put up structures that will accommodate 480 families. And what is particularly pleasing is that we have already seen central government coming in and playing its part with regard to the construction of the road that we'd started working on. So they've taken over that road. It's going to go all the way to join Bulawayo Road.
Patakanga takufamba nawo mamwe maproblems aizotora nguwa kana iri mumwe mibvunzo kuti tingazoipindura zvarini. Ipapo imwe yacho yaibva yakwanisa kuti inge yagadzirisika. Ipapo waibva yakwanisa futi kuti watore matambudziko ari kutonetsa nguwa iyoyo vakutoaendesa kana kunga kukanzwa kana kuministry. Then patirozosangana tenge tatofambira mberi. City of Harare iri kuita sewer and water nemaroads. Isisuwo dialogue shelter Zimbabwe Homeless People's Federation tiri kuita superstructure kuvaka dzimba dzacho. Saka ibasa riri kuenderera mberi, tiri kushanda tiri pamwe chete necity vachimonita vachiita zvimwe sezvakadaro.
It's a misnomer that as a council now, which was in 2017, the failure by the city to avail service distance.
Harare City Council is currently working on updating and reinterpreting urban bylaws to suit new realities.
The failure to do that, the urban poor are now being encouraged to form cooperatives and carry out land servicing on their own, which is indeed a misnomer.
After decades of animosity between the urban poor and authorities, 2012 has been a watershed year, characterized by sustained engagement and concrete action on the ground.
I think what has happened here is we put in place a tripartite arrangement. And in that tripartite arrangement, we've got Zimbabwe Homeless People's Federation, Dialogue on Shelter, and us as the local authority. The members of the Zimbabwe Homeless People's Federation, assisted by Dialogue on Shelter, they've got a very clear idea of what it is that they want in terms of how to accommodate their members, provide shelter. And so all we have to do is to make sure that we come in through the Department of Housing and Community Services, the Department of Engineering Services, and make sure that the structures that are put up here are going to last.